Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We start our next session now. This will discuss the subject of religion and politics. The specific subject is, has religion destabilized the subcontinent? I have with me a very distinguished panel. Let me begin with Dr. Subramaniam Swamy. He is president of the Janata Party and has for long held a reputation of being a maverick politician, economist, and public affairs person at large. He has been member of parliament several times, both in the Lok Sabha and the upper house Rajya Sabha. In 1990-91, he was Minister for Commerce, Law and Justice. Born in 1939, Dr. Swamy completed his master's degree at the Indian Statistical Institute, Calcutta. In 1964, he earned a PhD in economics at Harvard University. There he worked with Nobel laureate Simon Kuznets and jointly authored papers with another Nobel laureate, Paul Samuelson. At Harvard, Dr. Swamy taught economics for a number of years. From 1969-91, Dr. Swamy was professor of economics at the Indian Institute of Technology, New Delhi. Some of you might remember him from his emergency days when he suddenly turned up in parliament and said, Dr. Subramaniam Swamy on a point of order, sir, and then escaped dressed as a Sikh. He's maintained a combative streak in public life. Dr. Swamy adopted an anti-LTT stand early on, visited Israel at the height of India's pro-Arab foreign policy movement, and pushed for normalization of India's relations with China. Since 2008, Dr. Swamy has persisted with his queries about the controversial allocation of 2G spectrum in telecommunications, which evolved in late 2010 into a full-blown scandal and a source of considerable embarrassment to the present government. Dr. Swamy is proficient in Tamil, Hindi, English, and Chinese. He has authored several books, including Indian Economic Planning and Alternative Approach, and Hindus Under Siege.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been speaking in the Supreme Court since March 1 on cancellation of the 2G licenses. And two of the sponsors of this conference are likely to lose their license. So I hope they won't take it ill that the India Today has invited me to speak on this occasion. The short answer to this question that has been posed is yes, religion has destabilized the subcontinent. But the longer answer raises three questions. How is it done so? Why is it done so? And what now? Now in 10 minutes, I will have to summarize this. Naturally, it will be I hope not to sound too cryptic. On the question of how, I would identify partition, which was religious based, religious cleansing, which has followed since then, not only in India and Pakistan, but also within this country, say, for example, in Kashmir. And finally, the rise of theological jurisprudence, which in my opinion is the most destabilizing, potentially the most destabilizing factor. Partition destabilized the subcontinent by dividing what was once upon a time known as Akhand Hindustan, which existed thousands of years before the two religions which came subsequently, Islam and Christianity, and then through a militant, forcible conversion, created schisms in this society. Before Islam and Christianity came to India, Hindustan had never seen religious intolerance and divisions. Parsis had come, Jews had come, Syrian Christians had come, even Arab Mopla Muslims, as they were called, came to Kerala. This subcontinent, which was then Akhand Hindustan, never knew of a case of books of other religions being burnt or inquisitions being held. That was the tradition. But this brutality that followed after Islam came to the subcontinent and Christianity, through the British rule, which demeaned the native civilization and concocted Indian history to demoralize the Indian and demean his identity. Partition thus became inevitable, and then it followed religious cleansing. Bangladesh had 32% Hindus in 1947. Today it's down to 7%. Same thing in Pakistan. And therefore, this religious cleansing led to communal rioting, a ghetto mentality, and on top of it all, we found many countries outside egging on the people within this country. As you can see in Kashmir, even in Kerala, where 5 Shariat courts have come to replace dispensing justice from the high courts. That brings me to the third defining destabilization that's going on in the subcontinent. That's the rise of the theological jurisprudence. We are witnessing it in Pakistan, where just for merely saying something about blasphemy laws, 2 very prominent people have been shot dead. And their assassins have been celebrated publicly in society. Question is why? Why is the subcontinent suffering as this? I would say that's probably because Islam and Christianity is a proselytizing religion, and in fact, theologically defends violence against non-believers. And therefore, there can never be peace and stability in the subcontinent unless 2 fundamental changes take place. First is that the Christians and Muslims in India should accept that their ancestors are Hindus and they not come from somewhere else. Recent research on DNA conducted in India and abroad establishes that the Indians have, right from north to south, the same DNA. Obviously, color of the skin is not a factor in race because that's got to do with pigmentation. And this was vividly proved by Michael Jackson when he took out the pigmentation and his color changed to that of a European. So the first thing is that the Muslims and Christians of India and the subcontinent should accept that their ancestors are Hindus and that there is a continuing civilization which can be called composite, but certainly it's a long history and that should be accepted. And second thing, which is more difficult theologically, that all religions have their own paths to God and they are equally to be respected. Both Islam and Christianity would find that very hard to accept. But unless that can happen, further destabilization is bound to take place in the subcontinent, and it may also end up in religious war. This is my submission. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Swami. Dr. Farooq Abdullah.
Thank you. Does it work?
Yeah, it's working.
Well, to Subramaniam Swami. Your daughter is married to a Muslim.
Yes.
My daughter is married to a Hindu. And Iqbal says, mazhab nahi sikhata aapas mein bair rakhna. Hindi hai hum watan hai Hindustan hamara. And my question to you is, why do you brush us all, Muslims, by the same brush by saying that we must learn that we're basically all Hindus and therefore you respect us? We respect each other's religion anyway. And if it's just one country, Saudi Arabia, which behaves like that, look at the other Islamic country, Dubai, where I am going to inaugurate a Gurdwara. Can you imagine? That shows that Islam has that way of accommodation. So Islam is not bad. No religion is bad. So Swami, my question is it not true that we politicians and the religious leaders, whether here or in Pakistan, are the ones who are root cause of the tragedies that we are facing in our both nations?
Well, your question calls for a long answer, but I'll give a short answer. Politicians cannot create anything. Unless the ground reality is there, politicians cannot do anything. So, You may say what you like, this is my view. I would say this, that it's very easy to speak goody-goody things about Hindus and Muslims. I have nothing against them. After all, as I say, they are part of my family, so there's no question. But I do see that 500,000 Hindus have been driven out of Kashmir. I do see that a professor in Kerala had his hands chopped off because he had asked in an exam question something which the clerics didn't like. Well, certainly.
Please keep quiet.
Certainly. I am not going to defend any action which is taking place, where the Muslims, Hindus are engaged in any violent activity. But theologically, Hinduism doesn't preach these things. Islam, I'm only saying to the Muslim intellectuals, please declare that all religions are equal. Or all religions lead to God if you don't want to say equal. But ours leads faster, you can say that. So it's happening everywhere. The problem arises because there is this concept of Darul Islam, Darul Harab and Al-Taqiyya. And that psychology permeates wherever Muslims in India, in any pocket, are in majority. I have found from my personal experience that the Hindu community lives in fear there. Whether it's in Kashmir, whether it's in Meerut, whether it's in Mau, whether it's in a town panchayat near Vellore, or whether it's in Kerala. In Malappuram, for example. That is because there is a different view as to what should be the shape of society where Muslims are in majority. That is what is called as Darul Islam, and that is what Saudi Arabia is. And that's what happened in Bangladesh, where there were 32% Hindus. Today it's down to 7%. It's one of the largest religious cleansing that has taken place anywhere in the world.